Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Braja Jana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Iravanachare Yamuna Iravanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhare Pijana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunadira Vanachare Yamunadira Vanachare Yamunadira Vanachare Yamunatiravanachare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Shri Radhe, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Shri Radhe, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. I apologize for being late. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from the sixth canto, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, chapter 9, The Appearance of the Demon Vritrasura, text 44. Yes, I'm correct, 44. Narayanang namaskrityam, naram chaiva narottamam, evam saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet, nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu, nityam bhagavata sevaya, bhagavatutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki, tato isha jahi twashtrang prasantam bhuvanatrayam, spanina na Krishna, tejangsya sprayudhani cha ato isha jahi twashtram prasantang bhuvanatrayam svaniyena na Krishna tejangsya sprayudhani cha. Would anyone online like to try to read the verse?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Ato isha jahi tvashram grasantam bhuvana trayam grastani yena na Krishna tejam syatra yudhani cha.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else? On this auspicious Ekadashi, the first one of 2025. Let's make
Hare
it a good
Krishna.
one.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Yes.
Ato isha jahi twastram grasatam bhavana trayam grastaniyena na Krishna tejamsi ashtrayuhani cha.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Anyone else? First Ekadashi of 2025. There's a lot of merit in chanting the Sanskrit out loud, especially to the devotees. Ato, therefore, Isha, O Supreme Controller, Jahi, kill, Twashtram, the demon Vritrasura, son of Twashta, Prasantam, who is devouring, Bhuvana Trayam, the three worlds, Vrastani, devoured, Yena, by whom, Naha, power, Krishna, O Lord Krishna, Tejangsi, all strength and prowess, Astra, arrows, Ayudhani, and other weapons, Cha, also. Translation. Therefore, O Lord, O Supreme Controller, O Lord Krishna, please annihilate this dangerous demon, Vritrasura, Rashta's son, who has already swallowed all our weapons, our paraphernalia for fighting, and our strength and influence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:15 to 16, Namam duskritino mudha padyante naradama yaya paritaghyana asuram bhavam ashritaha urvidha bhajante mang jana sukritinorjana arto jigyasur artarti gyani cha paratarshaba. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me, O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna. Four kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Unquote. The four classes of neophyte devotees who approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to offer devotional service the four classes of neophyte devotees who approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to offer devotional service because of material motives are not pure devotees. But the advantage for such materialistic devotees is that they sometimes give up their material desires and become pure. When the demigods are utterly helpless, they approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead in grief, and with tears in their eyes, praying to the Lord, and thus they become almost pure devotees, free from material desires. Admitting that they have forgotten pure devotional service because of extensive material opportunities, they fully surrender to the Lord, leaving to his consideration whether to maintain them or annihilate them. Such surrender is necessary. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Marabi Rakabi Yo Ichato Hara. O Lord, I fully surrender unto your lotus feet now. As you desire, you may protect me or annihilate me. You have the full right to do either. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Lakshur Unmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ato isha jahitva shtvang grasantam bhuvana trayam grastani nana Krishna tejangsya strayudhani cha. Therefore, O Lord, O Supreme Controller, O Lord Krishna, please annihilate this dangerous demon, Vritrasura, Tvashta's son, who has already swallowed all our weapons, our paraphernalia for fighting, and our strength and influence. So the demigods here are fully taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being completely thwarted by Vritrasura. They have no other recourse. They're in a corner. There's no way to move forward, upwards, backwards, retreat and battle, to try to fly over Vritrasura to gain some kind of strategic, military strategic advantage. No way to move sideways to try to sidestep him. Because Vritrasura is named that way because it means one who covers everything. So he has this mystic power, Mahima Siddhi. It's so extensive, so developed that he was able to cover the sky, sides, everywhere. And so he's swallowing up everything. So enveloped by Vritrasura's prowess and battle and being completely thwarted, they have no other choice but to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So this is an example of devotees who approach, who are, Desire Prabhupada, he states here, they are in distress. So 4 kinds of Krishna, he quotes the verse from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says there's 4 types of pious persons that approach him. So Priti means meritorious. So they have the merit, and their merit is that they actually approach the Supreme Lord for their problems. They're not approaching another demigod or taking shelter, trying to take shelter of their own. Of course, they are demigods, so they're not approaching another peer, because the most powerful peer amongst them is Indra, and he himself as well. He's overwhelmed. So I guess the next demigod to approach is Brahma. But Brahma already had advised them what to do, and that is to construct a special weapon. To construct a special weapon that will kill Vritrasura. So, but this is the situation they find themselves in. So there's no other way. So they're in distress, and this material distress, it's born of attachment to the body. So for the pure devotees, they are actually never in distress. So even though the external conditions are cause for distress, they are never in distress. Prahlad Maharaj is an excellent example of this, is that because he was always praying to the Lord, thinking about the Lord, he is a best example of Vishnu Smaranam, so constantly remembering the Lord. So he was in a type of samadhi, being completely absorbed in thought of the Lord. And therefore, whatever was happening externally, they were trying to administer poison to him, throw him off a cliff. Um, he he was oblivious to this. So he wasn't in distress because of those situations. So even though the Lord was helping him as well, when he was thrown off the cliff, um, the Lord was catching him when he was drinking the poison. The Supreme Lord is a super soul. He's the digestive power. And so he was able to actually digest that poison on behalf of his devotee. So the Lord was doing things externally which Prahlad Maharaj and others couldn't perceive with their senses because the Lord is completely spiritual. But Prahlad Maharaj himself was not in distress, despite him being unable to actually perceive with his senses directly what the Lord was doing, how the Lord was actually giving protection. Similarly, we find in the example of Haridas Thakur that um, after he boldly declared, so he was asked by uh, the local mayor, the Nawab Hussein Shah, that he should actually stop chanting. He should practice his own religion. He was born a Muslim, and him practicing Krishna consciousness, creating a disturbance. So there was, yes, it was through political intrigue. They tried to cause him to fall down through a prostitute because they'd become envious of him and his influence in the county, so to speak. And even though this political intrigue didn't work to cause him to fall down, then the final straw was actually to bring him before the Nawab to get him to actually officially renounce Vaishnavism and take up Islam and continue to practice. But he refused. He boldly declared, I will never give up this chanting. And so, because he did that, he refused the order of the king. The king was liable to punish him. And so, the punishment was that he would be beaten in 21 marketplaces. So, again, even Haridas Thakur being completely absorbed, Vishnu Smaranam, being completely absorbed in remembering the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, Lord of his. Yes, Prabhu? Haribol?
I'm sorry, I had my mic on unintentionally.
Oh, okay. So being completely absorbed in the lotus feet of the Lord of his heart, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was not in distress, even though he was being whipped um, mercilessly in these 21 marketplaces. In fact, his lack of distress was causing the persons who were designated to beat him distress. His lack of distress was causing those soldiers distress. Why? Because if they didn't actually achieve their task of beating him to the point of death, because that was the idea, beat him in 21 marketplaces, drag him, any mortal would not survive probably, two marketplaces. But he survived all 21. And when you would look up, he would smile at them. Oh my goodness, this created even more distress because they could see he wasn't affected at all. Yes. Mm. So for the pure devotee, this is the difference, is that they are never in distress because they don't, their identification with the body, they're completely separate. As we discussed last week, the devotee takes care of the body uh, as the temple of the Lord, as a facility for performing Rishikena Rishikesha Savanam Bhakti Uchite. So the Lord has given me senses, material senses, a set of material senses to act in this material world. And the Lord has spiritual senses, but he also appears in the form of his deity. And so his body is completely spiritual, even though it appears material. That's because it appears material because I have physical senses, material senses, and the Lord, by his mercy, is allowing me to see. But really, the Lord's form in his Archa Vigraha is completely spiritual. And so he's given me an opportunity to actually engage my senses for his sense gratification. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. And so the devotee takes care of the body. But their position, they are always a witness to the conditions of the body. And so because their position as a witness is never compromised, they're actually never into stress. They're just viewing it. They're just viewing it. So, and therefore, their determination to always take shelter of the Lord, it's never disturbed. So we know in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 10 subject matters, this is stated by Shukadev Goswami. Atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam uttaya manvantare shanupata nirodha muktir ashraya. So, and one of the subject matters is what we're dealing with today, protection by the Lord. So the Lord's full protection comes in the form of his program of uplifting the consciousness of the pious person. So there's the materialistic devotees who are into stress and who are desiring wealth, right? Then there's the inquisitive, there's some goodness that's mixed in there. And then there's those who are wise, who have a natural affection for the Lord. So like the demigods here, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, is that the specific advantage of approaching the Lord is that you become purified of your materialistic desires. Uh, and the Lord purifies those materialistic desires at the root. And the root is identification with the body. So when you come to the point of being a witness, then you'll see those desires as what? As being like glass. This was Dhruva Maharaja's statement to the Lord after the Lord appears before him, after he had actually executed the orders of Narada Muni, his spiritual master. So that was a specific advantage of him actually approaching the Lord for a greater kingdom, was that he didn't get a kingdom at that point, right? So he got the kingdom after the fact. He made the statement. But him saying that this is like broken glass, these desires, the cause of him saying that wasn't because he actually had acquired what he wanted initially. The cause of it was he was now a pure devotee. And so he ruled his father's kingdom, Uttanapad, for several tens of thousands of years. And then he got the pole star, uh, which is, Prabhupada describes it as it's a Vaikuntha planet within the material world. So it doesn't get destroyed. It's permanent. I heard this from my Guru Maharaj while he was speaking on, I think, Lagu Bhagavatamrita. So it is indeed a greater kingdom than Lord Brahma, because Lord Brahma's abode, Satya Loka, gets destroyed at the end of his lifespan. Polestar doesn't get destroyed. But him saying that that desire that he had basically to avenge his own honor, because he was dishonored greatly by his mother, telling him that by his stepmother telling him that you have to take birth in my womb. if you want to crawl on the lap of your father. In other words, you have to wait another lifetime and perform pious activities. And then once you're sufficiently pious, then uh, one day I'll allow you to take birth in my womb, or through providence, you will be allowed to take birth in my womb. So very hurtful words. And because he was a Kshatriya, it was as good as death. Even though he was 5 years old, um, it was as good as death. And so, because that identification is very strong, that designation that I'm a Kshatriya, even for a 5-year-old boy, he couldn't actually tolerate it. And so he needed a course of action. And so Narada Muni cleverly gave him um, mystic power, a mystic an Ashtanga yoga practice, which really, but it was bhakti, it was devotional service. And so Dhruva Maharaj, because of his determination, you see it that he wasn't actually identifying with his body as a 5-year-old boy. Narada Muni tried to dissuade him and say, you're just a young boy who's just attached to playing sports. Just play with your friends, go back to the kingdom. You'll forget about this whole episode. But so his determination made it such that he had the preliminary qualification of practicing Ashtanga Yoga. So when you look at the Eightfold Yoga system of Ashtanga Yoga, Yama and Niyama prepares you to actually come to this position of becoming, detaching yourself from the body. So there's practices of brahmacharya, reading the scriptures, ahimsa, practicing nonviolence, and all these precepts. And then you come to the point of asana. And then asana further, you gain control over your working senses and your knowledge acquiring senses. And so then once you in full control of what's coming in, into the body, all the sense objects, because basically the sense objects and the senses, they're always running towards each other. This is explained by Uddhava when he actually asked Krishna, is that how is it that the living entity could ever gain liberation? Because the senses, they're always running towards the sense objects, and the objects are always running towards the senses. For example, if you start thinking about buying a car, and then you don't know what to get, and then you do a research, you get into some discussions, and then you decide, okay, I want this specific vehicle. All of a sudden, that vehicle, that's all you see on the road. That's all you see. It's not that all of a sudden those vehicles have appeared and the manufacturer has like sent like a large shipment of those vehicles to now be within your county, and to be specifically on your driving route, but that Maya has arranged that these vehicles appear more. No, it's that now your senses are running, your eyes are running towards that vehicle. So this is an example. That's what happens because this is what you're thinking about, this is what you want. Your senses run towards it. And so the Ashtanga Yoga system is meant to gain control over that through basically you cut it off. Um, so the you cut it off. And so you come into pranayama, asana, then pranayama, controlling your breath. So the senses are being pushed out, they're acting through the breath. And so once you gain control over, the breath and the life air, then the senses, they don't push outwards anymore. And so then you come to the platform of pratyahara, complete withdrawal. Then once you come to complete withdrawal, then there's dharana, concentration. So then blurry image of the super soul is coming into focus, because now there's no more, the consciousness is becoming clearer. So it's not clouded by material desires. So if you look at the atmosphere, um, clouds tend to appear, some mist, and then the mist disappears. So these weather conditions, the consciousness is that desires, material desires, basically change the weather and they cover the sky of your consciousness, so to speak. And so basically for the yogi, where the sense objects aren't coming in, then it's always clear skies. And in the sky, when you look, look, and whoa, you'll see the sun. Then that's dharana. You begin to see the sun. Then you get closer, and then you come to a platform of dhyana, and the sun comes in full focus. Then you'll see the form of the sun, um, and then who is there on the sun? And that is the super soul. Into the platform of samadhi. You begin to associate. You see him, you see all these features, you see his toenails that are like red rubies. You'll see the mark of the Kostaba on his chest. Well, you'll see also the Kostaba jewel as well. You'll see the fine white hairs on his chest that are impressed because of the goddess of fortune resting. That's the resting place for her head. So you'll see all these features. And once you see all this, oh yes, kingdom greater than my grandfather, this is all broken glass. I see the real jewel. Recently they found in Botswana 2,300 carat diamond. That's so big, such a big diamond. So the last time they found such a diamond was 1905, at least publicly acknowledged. 1905, and then that sat on the crown of Queen Elizabeth. Uh, Helen and Diamond, very famous. Now there's this diamond that they recently, I guess, let the whole world know that, hey, we found this big diamond. So very rare. So you can see images of it, very rare. But the Kaustubha is even more rare, because as Krishna says, is that out of many, many thousands that, try to approach the Supreme, maybe one can gain liberation, you know. And then out of those people who are liberated, maybe one may be interested, in him. So the actually gaining liberation and then seeing the Kaustubha money, um, it's called the Hope Diamond. And seeing the Kaustubha money on the Lord's chest, very, very rare. Because once you see that, then yes, everything else is like broken glass. So so this is the position of a pure devotee, is that by practicing devotional service, you don't have to go through this mechanical process of detaching yourself from the body. You do it through the very thing that you'll do after liberation, and that is devotional service. Sarvapari vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchate. By rendering devotional service, the side effect of it is that you become free from these designations, which actually cause attachment to the body, identification to the body, and therefore you feel this distress, you feel this desire for wealth, and all of that. So the demigods are performing devotional service. They're engaging um, in vandanam, in praying to the Lord. This is a limb of bhakti. And so even a lot of us have experienced is that you are feeling distress. There's something that is not flowing in your life. You're struggling. You might struggling maybe to make financial ends meet. Maybe you're struggling to keep up with your work schedule. Sleep is a struggle. Either you have a baby or you're unable to sleep. There's some struggle You might have desires like us, here, staying at the temple, performing service, but um, the internet is always alluring. Uh, yes, you're performing so much service, so the relief should be go on YouTube, watch something. So you might be afflicted in different ways like that in your service. And therefore you approach the Lord, you approach Damodar, and you offer a prayer. When you're praying, you're praying, you're praying. And the experience of it at the end is that actually, just by revealing your mind to Damodar in the form of Vandanam, connecting to him and being absorbed and really, really asking him for help, and then you chant his holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Being fully absorbed, catching the mind when it runs away, um, and bringing it back to the holy name of the Lord, you feel relief, yeah, from your distress. And in fact, as you go on chanting, you feel joy. So the condition hasn't changed. The condition hasn't changed. But the external condition that's causing you distress hasn't changed. But what's changed is your position as a witness. You've actually detached yourself. And then the Lord within the heart, He instructs you, He gives you intelligence. And in this way, you can actually mitigate the distress. So this Vandanam spiritual technology is very, very powerful. So through Vandanam, the demigods actually, the Lord appeared before them. And then now, you know, they are praying to him. So the Lord is there and they are praying to him. So their prayers brought about the appearance of the Lord, and now they're actually praying to him and being connected. Yes. So this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, there's great deliverance. Maha, so mantra, that which delivers the mind, uh, delivers the mind because the Lord is Nija Sarva Shaktis. He has invested himself completely. So the Swayam Rupa, the root of all existence. This is the original form, Krishna, the root of everything, the shelter of everything, material, spiritual worlds, causes of distress, causes of material happiness, uh, all types of liberations. This is the root. Krishna, his form. This is the root of everything. He has put himself in his holy name. So when you chant his holy name, you get delivered. The mind gets delivered from the distress. So this is the process, actually. And the Lord is there. He's right there on the tongue. He has appeared. So the demigods are seeing this eight-on form, I think, if I recall correctly. The Lord is there and they're praying to him. So you come before Damodar, and it's the Arch of Vigraha, and then you're chanting. The Lord is right there. He is right there. He's appeared. Yes. So when you are hearing the holy name in the spacious area of the heart, um, then you'll actually perceive that the Lord is actually right there. So this is Vishnu Smarnam. When you're chanting and you're hearing, uh, all you're hearing, you're just hearing the name. That's all. You're just hearing the name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's all. The Lord is right there. He has actually made his appearance. So this is what we want, and this is the process. And let's see how Prabhupada, he quotes um, a great devotee, great acharya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Manasa Deho Go Eho. This is a bhajan from the Sharanagati. Mind, body, and home. So I'll just read the translation. Mind, body, and family, whatever may be mine, I surrendered at your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda, in good fortune or in bad, in life or at death. All my difficulties have disappeared by choosing those feet of yours as my only shelter. Slay me or protect me as you wish, for you are the master of your eternal servant. If it is your will that I be born again, then may it be in the form of your devotee. May I be born again even as a worm, so long as I may remain your devotee. I have no desire to be born as a Brahma averse to you. I yearn for the company of that devotee who is completely devoid of all desire for worldly enjoyment or liberation. Father, mother, lover, son, lord, preceptor, and husband, you are everything to me. Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, O Kana, please hear me. O Lord of Radha, you are my life and soul. So on this first Ekadashi of 2025, let us take shelter of the Lord through this prayer, through this bhajan that Bhaktivinoda Thakur humbly offers at the lotus feet of the Lord. Let us, yes, listen to it, try to sing it, sing along, and assimilate this word. This is how to pray. So for the pure devotee, I fully surrender unto your lotus feet. Now, as you desire, you may protect me or annihilate me. You have the full right to do either. So this is how the pure devotee prays. And just by hearing the words, so even though you might not be at the stage of bhakti, stage of bhava, these high levels of bhakti, you might, like myself, still be in an art and a vritti struggling with being consistent with sleep, and just having regular eating habits. But just by singing in and praying to the Lord, following in the footsteps of our previous acharyas, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, hearing it purifies you. It actually purifies you, and it brings you closer to that stage. So that is the process of bhakti. You hear, right, and then you chant. Shravanam, Kirtanam. You hear and then you chant. So let us chant this great prayer by the Lord, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And in this way, on this auspicious Ekadashi, we will get a great boost in coming closer to Krishna in this new year of 2025. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions, reflections, or contentions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hey, I want to thank you for a fabulous class. Lots of great stuff there, and it's got my mind reeling. There's so much. Well, covered a lot of stuff, and there's a lot to unpack. The purport of your words is immense. Bunch of things come to my mind that I feel like I should mention, and it's interesting to me, at least, that I had a desire to talk about these particular topics, and I was hoping that you would speak on them, and you did. So I'm delighted. It's wonderful that you are speaking about Vandana. Um, Prayer is such an extremely important function. We place great emphasis on hearing and chanting, but prayer is also very, very important. It's practiced by all of our acharyas. They've given us many, many examples, and it's of course it's recommended by Srila Prabhupada, and it's important to understand because sometimes it's not understood by devotees, particularly those who are less experienced in devotional service. They think that my Krishna consciousness is dependent upon my own personal endeavor. I have to strive to achieve a certain level of detachment from the material and attachment for Krishna and devotional service. And it is by dint of the strength of my endeavor that I will advance in Krishna consciousness. And this is partly true, but it's also a mistake because we are actually relatively powerless. We are very minute. Our sphere of influence is tiny. To try to overcome the material nature is a monumental effort beyond our capacity, actually. It becomes possible by depending upon Krishna, but by depending upon Guru and Krishna. Krishna makes these things possible. He empowers us to overcome the material nature, or he calls off the material nature. Leave this one alone. I'll take it from here. So devotees need to understand that, because sometimes and this came to mind because I just had a discussion with a devotee recently, and there was some contention between us. The devotee was suggesting that there are some individuals who are virtually unable to follow all the regulative principles. They just can't do it. And my position was that no, they absolutely can do it. And it is self-defeating to think that you can't do it. And if you tell them that you can't do it, or you allow them to make such a statement and think that way, you're doing a great disservice. You're encouraging them in a mistaken conception, because they absolutely can do it, because they're not alone. It's not up to the individual alone, but you have the benefit of the help of other devotees, uh, particularly one spiritual master, and then, of course, ultimately Krishna. And so it becomes possible. There was a statement that Srila Prabhupada once made. I can't remember verbatim, but the gist of it was that you needn't be concerned about Maya. With one kick of my foot, uh, I can eliminate Maya's influence on you. Your spiritual master, a pure devotee, has the ability to do that, but they're not going to allow you to take Krishna consciousness cheaply. So you have to make a serious endeavor. You have to endeavor to the extent of your actual capacity, which you do not know. You don't know what your actual capacity is. You try to estimate, but you don't know what you're capable of really. Your spiritual master will know what your real capacity is, and he will push you to realize your full capacity. But they want to see an expression of your sincerity in that way, that you are genuinely sincere, you're making the effort. And when you do that, when you make the effort, then you'll get the help of Krishna. So the determination of the sparrow, as described in Bhagavad Gita, the sparrow tried to enter the ocean. Ludicrous proposition, tried to enter the ocean with the tiny beak of a sparrow. Virtually impossible, but it became possible because the Lord was pleased by the sparrow's determination. So it's by pleasing Guru and Krishna that the impossible becomes possible for us. One way that we invoke the mercy of Guru and Krishna to help us in these sorts of impossible endeavors is through prayer. Very, very important. And so there's a couple of statements I'd like to share from Srila Prabhupada. Months back, I made a statement about crying. I was talking about the value of crying and suggesting that Gita Nagari should be one place where where we can cry. And as the words left my mouth, I could feel palpably the skepticism of my audience. I thought that there's some of the devotees are going to be having a little trouble digesting what I'm saying here, but I assure you, it comes directly from Srila Prabhupada, and I'll give you an example. There are many, but here's something from the Nectar of Devotion that it's important to understand. This is from the 9th chapter of the Nectar of Devotion. It's a chapter on submission. Says, in the same Narada Pancharatra, there is another expression of submission, wherein the devotee says, "My dear Lord, O lotus-eyed one," and this, of course, is a prayer. "My dear Lord, O lotus-eyed one, when will that day come when on the bank of the Yamuna I shall become just like a madman and continue to chant your holy name while incessant tears flow from my eyes? This is another perfectional stage. Lord Chaitanya also desired that a moment will appear unto me as 12 years of time, and the whole world will appear to me as vacant on account of not seeing you, my Lord." Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, one should feelingly pray and become eager, and this word eager is important. One should feelingly pray and become eager to render his particular type of service to the Lord. This is the teaching of all great devotees, especially Lord Chaitanya. In other words, one should learn how to cry for the Lord. One should learn this small technique, and he should be very eager and actually cry to become engaged in some particular type of service. This is called lolium, and such tears are the price for the highest perfection. If one develops this lolium, or excessive eagerness for meeting and serving the Lord in a particular way, that is the price to enter into the kingdom of God. Otherwise, there is no material calculation for the value of the ticket by which one can enter the kingdom of God. The only price for such entrance is this lolium, lalasa, lalasa mai, or desire and great eagerness. There are many other such statements, but so this is a component of prayer. There are different types of prayer. There are different ways in which one can pray. One may pray to be engaged in devotional service. One may pray in a mood of glorification of the Lord, offering prayers of glorification, and there are many other types of prayer. But this component to prayer with lolium, with great eagerness, to be engaged in the Lord's devotional service, to be uplifted, to be fixed as an atom of dust at the Lord's lotus feet, to feel such eagerness that it evokes tears. That's the price for perfection. So something to think about, something to meditate on. We're out of time. Hare Krishna, thank you once again for a wonderful class. I got a great deal from it.
Yeah, Prabhu, thank you. Please don't feel the need to like end the class. Yeah, I think devotees are still online and they would benefit from all the training. Maybe other devotees would like to make a contribution. I'll just, mute myself here so that we can be in time for greetings. But please continue to churn the nectar on Vandanam. And this is a great way to, yeah, connect with the Lord. Let's give Vandanam its airtime today.
Crickets. I'm going to share a few more quotations.
Jai Prabhu, thank you.
Um, in Honolulu in 72, Srila Prabhupada installed the Panchatattva, and he spoke on that occasion, and these were some of his words. He said, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that way. That is, that if you want to cry for Krishna, then no more crying for this material world. Finished. If you can once learn how to cry for Krishna, then you will no more cry for this material world. That is Vedanta. Try to feel separation for Krishna, separation from this nonsense material world. And in the, I was talking about praying for help in Krishna consciousness, for release from the bondage of material nature. For example, Srila Prabhupada said in a letter to Govinda Dasi in 1973, he says, of course, we have to control the mind. And I have already instructed you and all my students that the restless, fickle mind can only be controlled by putting the mind to the lotus feet of Krishna. And that can best be done by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And there is no alternative in this age. By chanting without offenses, the devotee cries to Radharani and Krishna to please lift him out of the material energy and put him into the spiritual sky, which is devotional service. So the devotee, by his chanting, is crying out to Krishna and Radharani to please lift him out of the material energy and place him in the spiritual energy. And that is devotional service. So crying for devotional service with great longing, with great enthusiasm, with great feeling, with great eagerness. And when we manifest that kind of intensity of eagerness, the result will be tears. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.